So President Trump continues to try and exude his power over the Federal Reserve. Let's discuss the details and how this could impact that potential $600 stimulus check that Republican Senator Josh Hawley has proposed, and President Trump has publicly said he would potentially be in support of getting that approved. Before we jump into it, guys, please like and subscribe. I appreciate you guys always tuning in. Now, the Federal Reserve has 7 board of governors at the federal level. Now, total, there's 12 votes that are taken into account to either lower or increase interest rates. And they need a majority of those votes, which is 7, to get things approved. Now, Trump has been hammering the Federal Reserve and those additional 6 votes come from regional board of directors, not from the federal level, basically. Now, President Trump, you probably know, has been pressuring Jerome Powell to push for lowering rates immediately, saying that the American people are paying too much interest for basically everything, for their mortgage rates, for their auto loans. You know, when rates are higher, just everything across the board becomes more expensive. As the cost of doing business goes up, a lot of those costs are passed on to the consumers. Now, what does this have to do with the stimulus check? Well, essentially, if Trump gets his way, and what he's trying to do here is pressure the Federal Reserve to lower rates, which would then make it easier for Trump to continue his tariff policy. See, remember, most people agree that one way or another, these tariffs are going to make things more expensive for the average consumer. Now, it depends on what the product is, but overall, it's probably going to make things more expensive. Now, if you can lower interest rates dramatically, that could offset that and potentially even more than offset that. Now, what did Trump recently do to try and continue to exude his pressure on the Federal Reserve to get those interest rates lowered? And remember, that $600 stimulus check that was proposed would be funded by tariffs. So the more they can lower interest rates, potentially the longer of a runway they have to keep increasing these tariffs, which bring in more revenue, which could be used to approve those stimulus checks. Remember, we did the math in a previous video. Given the way that bill is currently written, $600 for adults, $600 for each child. There are income cutoffs, but they're pretty high. That could easily be paid for by the excess tariffs that are currently coming in, if those continue for the rest of the year, which they most likely will. Tariffs have been bringing in a lot of revenue. Now, what did Trump do to exude his control over the Federal Reserve? We know he's been hammering them. He's been threatening to sue Jerome Powell. After he threatened to sue Jerome Powell kind of U-turned his tune. Jerome Powell didn't want to really lower interest rates. And then he said, you know what, we could potentially start lowering them as soon as next month in September. That was a massive U-turn, and Jerome Powell is the chair of the Federal Reserve, meaning he has a lot of influence. Now, on top of that, just last night, Monday night, last night as I'm recording this video, Trump came out and said that he's firing one of the 7 governors of the Federal Reserve Board. Her name is Lisa Cook. She was appointed by Joe Biden, I believe, in 2022. She also happens to be African American, which I believe she's the only African American woman. Take that as you will. We all know Trump is against diversity. Who knows if that's why? But the main point and the main reason he's doing this is because the more board of governors he appoints, the more influence and control he has over interest rates. And that kind of defeats the whole purpose. It doesn't kind of, it literally defeats the entire purpose of the Federal Reserve. They're appointed by the president. They're appointed for 14-year term, which are staggered. And basically they cannot be fired by anyone, only by the president, but they have to have just cause. They have to have some serious, egregious reason to fire them, whether it's something like a crime, a federal crime, a financial crime. And essentially what Trump is using as an excuse here is potential mortgage fraud. And let's quickly talk about what this is. We won't go too crazy into it. But essentially, when you buy a house, you get a mortgage loan. You get a better interest rate and better terms if you're going to live in that house. If you're going to refinance, it's the same thing. If you already own the house and you live there, you're going to get a better rate if you're buying an investment property or a vacation home, etc., not your primary residence. Well, I believe it was 2022 where she refinanced a loan where she lived, or supposedly lived, allegedly lived, and claimed she lived there to get a better interest rate. Remember, rates were extremely low back then, 2021 or 2022. Then she also, at the same time, 14 days later, closed on a condo, I believe it was, and also said she was going to be living there. So giving the proximity of those dates, Trump is essentially saying she committed mortgage fraud, she lied, she could not be living in both places at the same time, or they were too close together. It's just morally wrong. And because of this financial crime, she should not be allowed to be a governor on the board of the Federal Reserve. Now, guys, take from that what you will, but it's obviously an excuse to try and gain more control of the Federal Reserve, which again defeats the entire purpose. They're supposed to have 14-year terms, be basically untouched. That way the presidents and other people in politics cannot pressure them to do things for political reasons, right? They can't be bribed, they can't be blackmailed. They do what's right for the actual American people. Now, a lot of people want lower interest rates, right? They want to refinance their mortgages, their auto loans, their personal debts. A lot of people here watching this video have personal debt and they would love to do that. But if you lower interest rates too quickly, you could potentially cause more inflation. So that's the balance here, right? These tariffs are potentially causing a little bit of inflation as well. So these things are very complex. No one fully knows the actual outcomes of what would be if they lowered interest rates now. But a lot of people think it's too soon. And the majority of people on the Federal Reserve think it's too soon. That's why they haven't lowered interest rates yet. But again, if Trump is able to exude his power over the Federal Reserve, in my opinion, there's a higher likelihood tariffs will continue, more revenue comes in, and potentially a larger chance for that $600 stimulus check. Now, there's 12 votes to lower or increase interest rates. Trump appointed, I believe, 2 of the 7 main votes over the last, couple of terms he's had. There's 2 up for election again next year, which he's going to appoint. So that brings him up to 4. If he kicks Lisa Cook off, which that's actually going to court, she's challenged it. The Federal Reserve came out and said, hey, she has the right to challenge this. They're essentially backing Lisa Cook, and they're not agreeing with Trump. And this is going to go through court. And it'll probably take a long time. It'll probably go to the Supreme Court. If he is able to fire her, which personally seems like it's a little bit of an excuse, he just wants control, but let me know your thoughts on that, then that would give him potentially a 5th person out of the main 7, and then all he would need is an additional 2 votes out of that 12, because there's 7 main votes, and then there's 6 additional regional federal governors that get to vote as well. So you need 7 out of 12 votes. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comments, guys. Again, this could have an impact on that potential for that $600 stimulus check if Trump is able to exude his power and continue to drive more tariff revenue by lowering rates, which would offset those increase in costs for American consumers. But guys, as I always say on this channel, these benefits that are given by the government, these stimulus checks, Social Security benefits, other things, these are extra. This is like the cherry on top. You really need to get your financial picture at home in order to really thrive and stop living paycheck to paycheck. I know what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck. I personally lived off ramen noodle, literally. And I've actually built financial peace and even financial wealth just through everything I've learned in life. And if you guys would like your own personal financial peace plan that I could deliver to you, imagine learning how you could earn an additional $500 a month in income. Imagine learning how you could lower your expenses by $500 per month. Imagine the breathing room that would give you, right? Just these little baby steps can go a long way in giving you financial peace. Now, there's no guarantee I can give you that exact $500 per month, but that's just an example of what's possible. So if you guys are interested in that, check out the description of this video. I'm leaving my email down there. You guys can shoot me an email, tell me your financial situation, and we can work out a plan for you to create financial peace in your life. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe. Please like if you like these updates. I'll keep you posted when it comes to this stimulus check proposal, what's happening with Social Security benefits, retirement benefits, politics, the economy, interest rates, unemployment, everything across the board. Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you're doing well, and I hope to see you on the next video.